You check your bank account. You immediately close the app. Your stomach drops. You do the mental math on what bills are coming. You wonder if you can afford to eat out this weekend. You feel stuck. Like no matter how hard you work, the numbers never really change. Now imagine checking your bank account and smiling. Not because you are rich. Not because you hit $1 million. Because you hit one specific number that completely changes how money works in your life. That number is $20,000. Not 100,000. Not $1 million. 20,000. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why this number is the most important milestone in your entire financial life. Let us get into it. When you do not have money saved, your brain operates in what psychologists call survival mode. And survival mode is not just a feeling. It is a biological state that physically changes how your brain processes every single decision you make. You take the first job offer that comes along, even if it is terrible, because you cannot afford to be picky. You stay in situations you hate because leaving feels too risky. You watch opportunities pass by because you need certainty, not growth. This is not weakness. This is your brain in survival mode. It cannot think about the future when it is busy fighting fires in the present. It is like trying to plan a vacation while your house is on fire. Your mental bandwidth is completely consumed by immediate threats. And here is the brutal truth. 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That is not a coincidence. That is survival mode operating at a national scale. Here is what the research actually says. Vanguard conducted a major study on financial well-being. They found that having just $2,000 in emergency savings, $2,000, less than most people spend on a phone, increases financial well-being by 21%. But push that emergency fund to 3 to 6 months of living expenses, which for most people lands around $20,000, and you get another 13% jump. But more importantly, something inside your brain actually switches. You stop thinking about preserving what you have. You start thinking about growing it. Same income, same job, same starting point. One person has 20,000 saved. The other does not. Watch what happens to these two people over the next 5 years, because this is where the story gets really interesting. Getting to your first 20,000 is hard. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Saving $1,000 per month at an 8% annual return, it takes about 19 months. That is a year and a half of discipline, sacrifice, and saying no to things you want. But then something changes. Your second 20,000, the exact same amount, takes only 17 months. Not because you worked harder, not because you saved more, but because your first 20,000 is now working alongside you, generating its own returns, contributing to the next milestone. By the time you have $400,000 invested, your portfolio generates the next 20,000 in just 5 months, automatically, without you doing anything extra. The same amount that took you 19 months of grinding is now happening in 5 months while you sleep. That is not magic. That is compound interest at scale. The math is beautifully simple. A 10% return on $1,000 is $100. Nice, but not life-changing. That exact same 10% on $20,000 is $2,000. Money you did not earn through your job. Money that showed up because your existing money was working on your behalf. Scale changes everything. Meet Tom and Lisa. Same age, 28. Same income, $50,000 a year. Same city, same starting point. One difference. Lisa has $20,000 saved. Tom has nothing. Tom's boss is unreasonable. Tom knows it, but Tom needs the next paycheck. So Tom says nothing. Takes on extra work without extra pay, stays stuck in a job he hates. His financial situation stays exactly the same, month after month, because Tom cannot afford to take any risk. Lisa's boss is also unreasonable. Same situation, but Lisa has 14 months of runway in her bank account. So Lisa asks for a raise. The boss says no. Lisa starts quietly interviewing. 3 months later, Lisa has a new job paying $12,000 more per year. The $20,000 did not just sit there. It gave Lisa the power to change her life.
5 years later,
Tom has had a few small raises and has $8,000 saved. Lisa has made 2 strategic career moves, has been investing consistently, and has a net worth of $67,000. Same starting income. Same city, same 5 years. The $20,000 was not the destination. It was the launch pad. Remember that chain brain from the beginning of this video. When you cross 20,000, those chains start breaking. Your brain physically shifts out of survival mode. And the changes are not subtle. Before 20,000, you obsess over $4 coffees and generic cereal. After 20,000, you stop sweating the small stuff. Not because you are careless, because you have proven you can handle the big stuff. Your mental energy shifts from micro decisions that barely matter to macro decisions that change your life. You start seeing opportunities that were always there, but invisible. When you were in survival mode, a friend starting a business, a rental property deal, a career conference that could change your trajectory. Before, these were just noise. After 20,000, these are options you can actually consider. Without savings, you negotiate from desperation. You cannot ask for a raise because you are afraid. They will say no and make things awkward. You cannot push back on unreasonable demands because you need this paycheck. You are trapped, and everyone in that room can feel it. With $20,000 saved, everything changes. Now you have what I call walking away money. You could quit tomorrow and survive for months while you find something better. You do not negotiate from desperation anymore. You negotiate from options, and that shift in energy is felt by everyone in the room, including your boss. Here is what is crazy. You often do not even need to use the walking away money. Just having it changes your entire presence at work. You become more confident, more willing to speak up, more willing to take on challenging projects. And people notice. You get better assignments, more recognition, more money. The $20,000 creates a positive loop that accelerates everything. Now, here is where most people blow it. And I see this constantly. You hit 20,000, you feel amazing, you feel invincible. And then you make one of these 3 mistakes that wipes out everything you built. Mistake 1, the reward purchase. You decide you deserve a new car. After all, you have been so disciplined. But the moment you drive that car off the lot, it loses 20% of its value. That $35,000 car does not just cost $35,000. It costs $35,000 now, plus the $200,000 it would have grown to in your investment account over 20 years. Mistake 2, wiping the buffer for a down payment. Using your entire $20,000 as a down payment on a house you cannot really afford removes the very thing that was protecting your brain. You are back in survival mode, back to living paycheck to paycheck, but now with a mortgage on top. Mistake 3, leaving it in a regular savings account. 20,000 sitting in a standard savings account. Earning 0.5% while inflation runs at 3% means you are losing real purchasing power every single month. The 20,000 is the foundation, but it needs to grow. It needs to be invested. Here is exactly what to do the day you hit 20,000. First, keep 10 to 15,000 as your true emergency fund in a high-yield savings account earning 4 to 5%. Do not invest this. This is your survival shield. Second, take 3 to 5,000 and put it into a low-cost index fund. This starts your compounding engine. Third, if you carry any high interest, debt above 10%, attack it aggressively. The guaranteed return on eliminating 20% credit card debt beats almost any investment. Fourth, keep a small opportunity fund for the career conference, for the investment deal, for the moment where having cash creates an advantage. 20,000 is not the finish line. It is the starting line. 3 things to remember. 1. $20,000 does not just make you richer. It rewires your brain from survival mode to growth mode. 2. Compound interest means every dollar after 20,000 works harder than every dollar before it. 3. Having money gives you options. And options are what actually build wealth. So Haddon, how close are you to your first 20,000? Drop your number in the comments. Whether you are at 0 or at 19,000, I want to know. And if this video changed how you think about that savings goal, share it with one person who is still in survival mode. They need to see this. Subscribe for one video every week on how money actually works. No get rich quick, no gimmicks. Just the real mechanics of building wealth, explained simply. See you next week.